running every day, and that is exactly why you cannot lose belly fat. It is not because you are lazy. It is not because you eat too much. It is not because you lack discipline. Something is happening inside your body at the exact moment you are sweating through those runs that almost no trainer at the gym will voluntarily explain to you. A completely automatic biological mechanism, one that does not ask for your permission, does not warn you in advance, and it is commanding your body to hold on to fat, especially around the abdomen, precisely when you think you are burning it away. If you have ever stepped on the scale after weeks of consistent running, and the number did not move or even went up, then this is the video you need to watch until the very end. Because what you are about to hear will not only explain why you failed, it will completely change the way you understand your body. Part 1. The paradox nobody tells you directly. Let us be honest with each other for a second. You already know what that feeling looks like. A 5 a.m. alarm clock, tying your shoes in the dark, going outside to run while the entire world is still asleep, coming home, taking a shower, looking in the mirror and the belly is still there. Week after week, you start wondering what you are doing wrong. You try running more, you cut more calories, and then one morning you step on the scale and the number goes up, not down, up. And in that moment, a small voice inside your head whispers, "Maybe I am just not disciplined enough." I want to tell you something directly right now. That voice is wrong. Completely wrong. The problem is not your effort. The problem is that your body is receiving the wrong signals from the very exercise you are doing, and it is responding exactly the way those signals are instructing it to respond. This is the point where most people become completely confused. Running burns calories, yes, but burning calories and burning fat are not the same thing. The thing that determines whether you actually burn fat is not the calorie counter on the treadmill. The thing that determines it is the hormonal environment inside your body, and this is where the real story begins. Part 2. Cortisol. When your ally becomes the betrayer. Every time you run, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. And before you think, "Oh, I already know cortisol is bad," stop right there. Because the story is far more complicated than that, and that complexity is exactly what traps so many people without them realizing it. Cortisol is not the enemy. In the short term, it is something you actually need. When you begin running, cortisol rises sharply, it mobilizes energy, keeps you alert, and signals to your body that there is a physical challenge that must be handled. That is why, after a morning run, you often feel refreshed and mentally clear. Cortisol is doing its job correctly, completely normal, completely necessary. But here is the turning point, the moment everything changes, when you run too much, too often, without enough recovery time between sessions, cortisol stops acting like the hero. It does not switch off after you go home and take a shower. It stays. It continues circulating through your bloodstream for hours, sometimes the entire day. And a body living in a state of chronically elevated cortisol will do one very specific thing. It shifts into survival mode. It stops burning and starts storing. Why? Because your brain, even if you are living in a modern city in the year 2025 with a refrigerator full of food, is still operating on prehistoric software. And to that ancient software, prolonged and repeated physical exertion does not signal that you are healthy and training at the gym. It signals that you are running from danger or surviving through famine. Your brain receives that signal and gives the command, "Hold on to fat." This is not the time to burn it away. And the fat it protects the most? Exactly the fat around the abdomen, visceral fat, the type most sensitive to cortisol. This is the sentence I want you to remember forever. Your body is not stupid, it is obeying you. The problem is that you are accidentally giving it the wrong instructions. Part 3. The first trap. The compensation trap you never notice. After a long run, a familiar scenario begins to unfold, and if you are a runner, you will recognize it immediately. You come home, take a shower, and suddenly you are hungry. Not normal hunger. The kind of hunger that makes you feel like you could eat an entire pot of rice, and inside your head, there is a completely reasonable voice saying, "I just ran 7 kilometers. I deserve to eat. That feeling feels correct. That feeling feels justified. And precisely because it feels so reasonable, that is why it becomes the most dangerous trap of all. After you finish running, glycogen, the stored fuel inside your muscles, has been depleted. Cortisol is still circulating through your body. Your brain receives an emergency signal. Refuel immediately. And it does not simply increase hunger, it amplifies it, exaggerates it far beyond your actual energy needs. Research has measured this very clearly. On average, endurance athletes consume more calories after training than the amount they burned during the run itself. Not because they are greedy, but because biology is giving the orders. And cortisol does something even more subtle. It intensifies the brain's pleasure response to foods high in sugar and fat. Neurologically speaking, after a stressful run, your brain does not only want fuel, it wants reward. That is why you crave cake, fried food, and sugary drinks after running, not salad. You are not weak. You are being driven by biochemistry. And the final result is this. You run, you compensate by eating more. You believe you are still in a calorie deficit, but in reality, you are sitting at maintenance or even in a surplus. And there is no feeling inside your body warning you that this is happening. This is the invisible loop that millions of people are trapped inside every single day. Part 4. The second trap. Your muscle is disappearing and you cannot see it. This is the hardest part to hear, but it is also the most important part. When you run every single day without combining it with strength training, your body is not only burning fat, it is burning muscle too. And this is the most brutal cycle you can fall into without ever realizing it. Muscle is living tissue. It requires energy just to exist, even when you are sitting completely still. A person with more muscle burns more calories every day, even while sleeping. Muscle is your body's natural furnace, operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is why people who lift weights can often eat more without gaining fat, not because they have superior genetics, but because their furnace is larger. When you only run, without enough recovery, and without resistance training, a body trapped in chronically elevated cortisol becomes extremely practical. It begins breaking down muscle for energy. Slowly, week after week, muscle mass declines. The furnace becomes smaller. And now you are burning fewer calories than you were before you even started training, while still trying to run more in order to compensate. This is a race you can never win in the long term. Science calls this metabolic adaptation, a phrase that sounds neutral, but in reality, it is working against you. Your body learns how to run more efficiently, burning fewer calories for the exact same distance. That is why many long-term runners eventually realize that even though they run more than they did 2 years ago, their weight still does not change. Their body has learned how to run cheaper. And there is another layer to this. Excessive endurance training can also reduce the thyroid hormone called T3, the hormone directly responsible for regulating your overall metabolic rate. When T3 drops, everything slows down. You burn fewer calories throughout the entire day, not only during exercise, and you will almost never connect that constant feeling of fatigue with the fact that you are simply running too much. Part 5. The third trap. Your hunger hormones have been hijacked. Now let us talk about something that I think will make many people feel relieved, because once you understand this, you will stop blaming yourself for having weak willpower. Inside your body, there are 2 hormones that control hunger and fullness, ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. It rises when your body wants food. Leptin is the fullness hormone. It tells your brain that you have had enough and can stop eating. When these 2 hormones are balanced, you naturally eat the amount your body actually needs. But when cortisol remains chronically elevated, that balance completely breaks down. Ghrelin surges upward, while leptin becomes weaker. You feel hungry all the time. The feeling of fullness arrives late and disappears quickly. And no level of discipline is strong enough to defeat that forever. No matter how powerful your willpower may be, hormones will eventually win. You might resist for 1 day, maybe 2, but your body will continue sending stronger and stronger hunger signals until you finally give in. And afterward, you blame yourself all over again. This is the cycle. Millions of people are trapped inside not because they are not trying hard enough, but because nobody ever explained the real biological mechanism behind it. Part 6. Your body is not the enemy. I want to pause here and say something important, because after hearing everything we have discussed so far, many people fall into another mental trap. They begin hating their own body, believing that their physiology is betraying them. That is not true. Everything your body is doing, holding on to fat, increasing hunger, slowing down metabolism, is part of a protective system refined through millions of years of evolution. Your body is trying to protect you in the best way it knows how, based on the signals it is receiving. The problem is not that your body is broken. The problem is that you are unintentionally sending it the wrong signals. And when you change those signals, your body changes its response. Naturally, without needing to fight against yourself. Part 7. The solution. Train smarter, not more. This is the part I know you have been waiting for. And I want to say this directly from the beginning. The solution is not to quit running. Running is an excellent tool. The problem is not the tool itself, but the way you are using it. The goal is to change the signals your body is receiving, so it no longer stays trapped in survival mode and can finally feel safe enough to burn fat. First, combine running with strength training. This is the single most important change you can make. Lifting weights does not only help you look better, it sends your body a completely different signal than running does. It tells the body to build and preserve muscle tissue. More muscle means a larger furnace, burning more calories throughout the entire day, even while you are sitting down reading the news. And strength training creates another special effect called EPOC excess, post-exercise oxygen consumption. After you finish training, your body continues burning calories at an elevated rate for many hours while repairing muscle tissue. Traditional cardio does not produce the same effect. A realistic structure might look something like this: 2 to 3 strength training sessions per week, 1 to 2 moderate runs, 1 interval session, and at least 1 to 2 complete rest days. Not running every single day, not forcing your body nonstop, but giving it space to recover, because inside that recovery window is where fat burning truly begins. Second, respect recovery as part of training itself. This is what most people mistakenly label as doing nothing, when in reality, it is the period where your body is working the hardest. During recovery, cortisol levels fall, muscle tissue rebuilds itself, and hormones move back toward balance. Deep and sufficient sleep is the most powerful recovery tool you possess, and it is completely free. When you sleep less than 7 hours, cortisol rises, ghrelin rises, and leptin falls. You become hungrier, crave more sugary foods, and burn fewer calories overall. A person who trains aggressively but sleeps only 5 hours will almost always lose against someone who trains less but consistently sleeps 8 full hours, at least in terms of long-term fat loss results. Third, learn how to read the signals your body is sending you. Poor sleep, lingering soreness, unexplained irritability, abnormal hunger between meals. These are not signs that you need to train harder. These are signs that your body is asking for rest. Not weakness, not laziness. This is valuable biological information, and truly intelligent athletes are the ones who learn how to listen to those signals instead of trying to crush them with yet another run. Part 8. The final truth about fat loss. Fat loss is not determined by how hard you push yourself. It is determined by the signals your body receives every single day. Hormones, sleep quality, stress levels, muscle mass, all of these factors together determine whether your body chooses to store fat or burn it. When running becomes excessive and unbalanced, all of those signals shift toward preservation. And no calorie deficit written on paper can overpower a body trapped in survival mode. But when you rebalance those signals, when cortisol is controlled, when muscle tissue is preserved, when recovery is respected, something very interesting begins to happen. Your body stops resisting you. It starts cooperating with you. Fat loss no longer feels like a war. It becomes the natural result of consistently making the right decisions over time. Science is very clear about this. A healthy metabolism develops through balance, not through constant stress. And when your training reflects that truth, progress begins to appear not as a reward for suffering, but as the inevitable consequence of doing the right things correctly. If this video explains something you have felt for a long time but could never fully understand, share it with a friend who has been running every single day without seeing results. They need to hear this. And before you leave, tell me in the comments below, which of these 3 traps are you struggling with the most? The compensation trap after running, muscle loss, or disrupted hunger hormones? I read every comment, and your answer will help me create the next video around what you truly need most. Your body has always been communicating with you. Now you finally know how to listen to it.